What? Good evening, welcome to Monday, July 1st, 2019 meeting of the Select Board Town of Montague. Topics may start earlier than specified unless there is a hearing scheduled. Meeting is being taped and broadcast by MCTV, and votes may be taken. Is there anyone in the audience videotaping or recording? Okay, thank you. And I'm Rich Kuklowitz.
Chris Botwell.
And Mike Nelson, we're the Board of Selectmen.
I'm Steve Ellis, Town Administrator.
I still say Board of Selectmen every time.
Okay.
One of these things.
All right, and Wendy is not with us this evening. Minutes are not quite ready for us, so we'll take care of those next week when Wendy returns. Public comments? Anybody in the audience? Okay. Okay, we have Gary from River's Edge Cycling.
Come and take.
Sure.
Ray, you want to come up? No, she doesn't. No, thank you.
Denied. It's not my authority or luck.
So again, I'm Gary Breer from River's Edge Cycling. This is my lovely wife Maureen, the shy one. And we're here to discuss the 4th annual River Valley Ice Cream Ride. We're excited that this is the 4th year we will have been doing this event here at Unity Park. As I've explained in the past, or shared with you in the past, we really enjoy doing the event here. Montague is Unity Park is just a lovely location for this event, and we've got such wonderful roads for cycling around here, and with the bike path going out, it's just really an ideal location. I don't know if you remember, in a past life I worked for the Department of Conservation and Recreation. I was the project manager for the Great Falls Discovery Center for a number of years. I had an office right in your employee lounge here, so this is a little bit like coming back to, it's a little like riding a bicycle, right where you're coming back to. But it was during those years at DCR and working so closely with the community around that project that I really fell in love with Turner's. And it's the reason that when we were putting together this event with Bart's Ice Cream and others, that we really wanted to do it out of Montague, so and out of Turner's Falls. So we have a information off to the Chief of Police. Each year we have one of the police officers from town provide coverage where riders are crossing Montague Road on the bike path. And so that has worked out great in the past, been very valuable, and they've been really wonderful to work with.
Good, yep, and it looks like he's seen it in the copy we have in our file. He's already initialed, so.
I received a message also from John Dobas. I told him he didn't need to come by tonight. He just offered his endorsement of it as a great
John
event that never had a problem with.
Yeah,
Right.
John is wonderful to work with completely, as is Suzanne and River Culture. We are really delighted that they are one of the 3 beneficiaries for the funds we raise through this.
Good. Any questions?
It's an annual event.
Appreciate your efforts to put this together.
Yep. I'll make a motion to approve the request for use of public property, Gary Greer, River's Edge Cycling LLC, for use of Unity Park on July 27th, 2019, from 7 a.m. till 3 p.m. For an event that takes place on the Canal Side Bike Path, Avenue A, Montague Road, Millers Falls Road, East Mineral Hill Road, Turner's Falls Road, Montague Street, and L Street. Chief Williams has signed off on it, and we have insurance on file.
Second.
Motion's made and seconded. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. So voted unanimous.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you.
We'll look forward to seeing you next year. We've already started planning for 2020.
Maybe some year we'll join your ride.
All right.
Okay, next is Hunter.
Good evening. I have 3 authorizations for payment. The first of which is final authorization to tie and bond, disbursement number 11 for $12,300. This will close the project out.
That's for Strathmore demolition.
Strathmore demolition.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, motion's made and seconded to authorize final payment. project number, just for the record, I guess we should say, right, somewhere?
It says number 11, final.
Yeah, just authorization.
Yes, for the record, it's disbursement number 11, invoice number F0619900002, the amount of $12,300.
Okay, there's a second, any other discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. So what do you want? Okay.
The next payment request is authorization to disperse number 1. It's a Rudders Park Improvement Project. It's to Emmy O'Brien. It's for the play structures equipment that was delivered to the site last week. It's for $50,715.
I make that, oh, sorry.
There's an invoice number with
Yep,
that.
I make that motion, and that's invoice number I190637-IN.
Second.
Okay, motion's made and seconded. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, so vote unanimous.
The last authorization is authorization to disperse number 2. It's a pay rec for the general contractor for Rudders Park Phase 1 to Aquatech LLC for $19,105. There's no invoice number, it's just a pay rec. Don't have-
$19,105 and 20 cents.
Yes, and 20 cents.
I'll make that motion.
And that's to AquaTurf, just to make sure it's read into the record properly.
AquaTurf, yes, sorry.
Okay, motion's made and seconded. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Now,
No,
do you have another document? you'll
Yes, I'll have a
sign?
document tomorrow morning
Okay.
to sign.
So if you can swing by, get that to Steve, and then we can try to catch it this week, sometime.
Okay. If not, next week's
Get at
fine
least two
too.
of us here, I'll try to swing by like sometime tomorrow. That'd be great.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you, Bruce.
Let's see, and Bruce, did you,
That's the one I'm.
this is the one we're waiting on?
Yeah,
Okay.
thank you.
Sufficient. Okay, next we have Beverly Ketch and Suzanne Lamato for use of public properties.
Really moving through this agenda tonight, guys.
It's warm weather. They like to keep
sun is calling
rolling.
us.
Mike might be able to get a little bit of time on the boat.
Yes, that
Oh,
would be
boy.
fantastic.
Oh, is that who I hear down there? Oh, it's you.
When you hear the screams of little girl out on the river, that's me driving my boat.
Okay, let's roll.
All right, so Fairy House Day. So this is Beverly. You know her. She wears a lot of hats in town. Aside from being a really fantastic custodian and keeping this place spick and span, she has lots of history working with children in town. And Fairy House Day is something. What year are you in?
Well, there've been a couple versions of it that happened over the past years, but
They've been very, very successful. We've had, I think last year for Fairy House Day, we had not under 30 kids and parents build little natural structures in our downtown planters, and it was a whole lot of fun. But this year, Beverly asked if I wanted to go together to help support her and to become a co-sponsor for this event, because she wanted to expand the event. So why don't you tell them how the event's going to expand this year?
well, this is a big year for us because we're doing the debut of our local children's show that we've created a pilot episode of, and we're going to show it in the Carnegie Library and in the in Peskamsket Park, as well as have a live kind of review that is not an enactment of the show, but a version, in the spirit of the show, and for kids, including a big appearance by Mother Nature and a butterfly release and stuff like that. So it's a really sweet, and it was super sweet. Other times we did it in association with Park and Rec some years back, and now we're doing it with Suzanne. And then we did it also at the library one year. So yeah, it's been a lot of fun, and the kids have enjoyed it.
Good. So events will take place basically from noon right through till about 9 p.m.
Right, because we decided to expand it and have a time that's not just for kids, but also for grown-ups to listen to music in the park, and we're going to put luminaries in the park.
And I saw the outdoor movie the other night, I didn't get a chance. to
200 people,
stop. That was like busy.
200 people.
That was awesome.
Over 100 people stayed all the way to the bitter end till
And
the
are you
spaceship.
able to turn off some of the lights in the park, or was it
No,
not
I
even
didn't, it wasn't
necessary?
really necessary, and I thought it would actually be unsafe, so we just decided, since this was our first movie, we would just kind of see see how everything went, and everything went great, and, not to get off topic, but thanks to Jim and Nelson at Montague DPW for putting that screen up. Mark. He introduced himself as Nelson 3 years ago, so I still call him Nelson.
I didn't mean to
He's
digress,
Nelson.
but
But
that was.
but anyway,
it was good. So
this is
good to
part,
see
this
that
is part of the
part
park
of
series, and we're really trucking along. Like, the events have been, I think, well publicized, and people are coming to them. I've noticed more people at the Monday night community bands. That was full last week. There were a lot of people down there for that. We have Finding Dory coming up, another movie on July 12th. So people seem to really utilize the schedule that we put together, and I'm very pleased with how it's gone so far. And this is one of the last ones of the summer in August.
Good.
All right, so as far as Spinner Park, you just looking for 11:30 to 1:15?
11:30 to 1:15.
And then for Pesky, 1 to 9:30?
That's about right, yeah.
Okay. All right, so I make the motion to authorize the use of public property to Suzanne Lamonto and Beverly Ketch from River Culture for the use of Spinner Park from, we'll say, 11 a.m. till 1:30 p.m. And Paskamska Park from 1 p.m. till 9:30 p.m. For the purposes of this wonderful summer event.
I'll second that.
Motion's made and seconded.
Last thing about fees waived because it's a town sponsor.
Sure. Fees waived.
Oh, I
Yeah,
thought that was assumed because it was River
It's
Culture.
it's a town sponsored event, yes.
Thank you.
Okay, and it looks like the chief is reviewing. So any other questions? Yes, Jeff?
I couldn't hear very well, just the summer event.
Excuse me, yeah, would you like the schedule? You can have
It's
this.
called Ferry House Day on Avenue A and the Enchanted Evening.
Oh, wow.
Glad
I asked.
And I'm sure Beverly and Suzanne will be glad
Max, would you
Yes.
like one as well?
to chat with you about it. No, not yet. Any other questions? Okay, all those in favor of those two authorizations?
Aye.
Aye.
So voted unanimous.
And I'll make the sister motion to authorize an entertainment permit for the same day, Saturday, August 17, 2019, in Paskamska Park for the same event.
Second.
Motion's made and seconded. Any discussion?
Real quick, the rain date was mentioned in the permit.
Oh,
So
the
do we
rain
need
date.
Do we need
Oh, yeah.
permission
Yes.
for that as well?
What is
The rain date was.
The 24th.
The 24th. There, on one of, there's a paragraph that I wrote out about the whole park, and I thought that it had the rain date
Ah,
on
there
there.
it is, yep.
Okay.
Did we vote on that, Suzanne?
Yeah, not the second one.
Okay, so let's do that.
Okay, motion's made and seconded for the entertainment permit for the use of Pesky Park on August 17th. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And additional motion to allow a rain date of August 24th for the previous two motions.
Okay, second.
I'll second.
Okay, motion's made and seconded to authorize rain date if needed. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
Voted unanimous.
Thank you.
Thank
very
you.
much.
Next, we have a discussion to reconsider the airport commissioner appointments from our meeting on June 24th.
So this was something that I requested be put on the agenda for this evening. Following our meeting last week, as I drove home and I thought about it a bit more, I wasn't quite sure if I was comfortable, I shouldn't say comfortable, if it was exactly the right vote that I had made a motion to move forward. So I went home and I watched the meeting the next day, and really listened to the discussion we had about the desire to have a really diverse board with various qualifications. So not having a board that everybody has the same qualifications. Everybody kind of brings something different to the table. And during the conversation, Brian noted that 2 out of the 5 people are residents, and there's no business owners on the board. So less than half of our board is made up of people who are truly vested in the town of Montague. And then, so I listened and read a little bit more about the people who were presented before us. All great candidates. We had Brian Carroll, who had been on the board for many, many years and was a wealth of experience on the board. We have David Brule, who has an extensive Native American background. And then we had Seth Rutherford come before us, or send a request for us, noting his extensive experience with plant management and gardening and lawn turf management, as well as being an adjacent business owner who's new to town, and coincidentally adjacent to the airport, which is, can't get closer of a neighbor than that. So as I was watching that, I was really reconsidering whether we picked the right two of the three people to be on the board. We were looking for those 5 people who make up the airport commission to be a really diverse group. And we have 3 people on it now, as it is with the vote that we took last week, that are aeronautics people. So we have 3 aeronautics, 2 residents, and no business owners. And so I wanted to kind of just rehash out these thoughts with the rest of the board and see if folks thought that maybe it would be plausible, it makes sense for us to kind of reconsider the people we put on last week.
Well,
Can I offer just a point of information?
Sure.
I did check with the town clerk to make certain that it was within your abilities to do this, and it is within your authority to reconsider and change appointments.
And so after I had watched the video last week, or last Tuesday or Wednesday, whatever day it came online, I reached out to Steve and Wendy and asked if they could check to see if that was something we were able to do, which, as Steve just mentioned, it is something we can do. And following that discussion, I requested he ask Rich to put it on the agenda tonight for us to discuss.
and I have absolutely no problem with that. I told Steve, let's have a further discussion. I think that I didn't make some of my points that maybe I wanted to last week either. One of those being that really one of the points I've kind of had for many years, and even have made motions at town meeting or a motion at town meeting, is around budgeting, and Brian and the airport commission have continued, and I think it's really under Brian's leadership, Brian, who's with us tonight.
Yep.
To really work to try to make the airport more and more self-sufficient. And it occurred to me that having somebody who's local, recently invested several millions of dollars into the town, and has had successful businesses, and continues to run successful businesses, and is, working to really make, like I said, that major investment in town, and has a lot of business acumen. I think that might be a good change, a good breath of fresh air for the board too, to have kind of a different and new perspective.
So it sounds like you actually had the same
I
wavelength
did.
thoughts as I was.
I was feeling last week that I didn't create enough discussion, but I didn't want to seem overwhelming in that, in my peak, so I think it's good, and I really do think honestly that, I think Seth would be a good fit for the board, and I think, like I said, it might bring a good, new, fresh perspective to the board. And Brian Camden, who's in the meeting room again tonight with us, has really done, and I've told him, I think that I've never seen more activity and more positive forward motion at the airport in all the years I've been in town.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
And I think we're getting a good deal for the amount of money we pay him already. And I think that if we can help him to get more folks involved that have the business perspective and can help him with some of the other challenges that he has up there around some of the grasses and so forth, that it kind of makes sense to try to rethink that. So that's my 5 cents on that one.
I thought about it, and I wasn't sure we had made the right decision, that we didn't have really, I don't think, as much input as the chair had said we could have had. However, I just don't like making appointments and then turning around and
Yeah.
making them go the other way.
I agree.
You know, but, I mean, this is the first time since I've been on the board
Yes.
where we've really been, it's,
And I think this is the first time in my 10 years on the board that we've
Yeah.
ever had something like this come up.
okay.
Yeah, and I would emphasize that it has nothing to do with either of the folks that were appointed last week. I think it has to do more of what's best for the airport as it moves forward. All three candidates were exceptionally well versed in their various disciplines. But what we're looking for on the board right now is a very specific set of skills. And I think that there's somebody else who fills those skill needs.
And that's why I kind of originally brought up if we could have an alternate if it was
Yeah.
needed.
So I'll start with a motion to rescind the two appointments from last week, June 24th, 2019, of Brian Carroll and David Brule to the Airport Commission.
I'll second.
Motion's made and seconded. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, so we,
So then in consideration of, it sounds pretty clear that we're all in agreement that we believe Seth would be a tremendous asset to the board. Looking at the other two candidates, Brian has been on the committee for many years and has aeronautic experience. And then we have David Brule, who of course is very strong with the Native American contributions up at the airport. Between the two of them, I think I would lean towards David, given the amount of Native American activity that's gone on at the airport. I feel like he's probably made a really strong contribution in that capacity with those skills. So I personally would lean towards having David be the other person.
okay, motion is made to appoint Seth Rutherford and David Rule to the Airport Commission. Do I hear a second?
I'll make that motion.
Okay, I thought you did make
No,
it as a motion.
no, I was just suggesting him as
Okay.
the other person.
So Michael
for
makes a
discussion.
motion for David and Seth to become Airport Commissioners.
Second.
Have a second from Chris.
And that was a 3-year term, Brian?
3-year
So that's
term,
through June 30th, 2022.
Any other discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
So, well, you know,
All right.
thank you, Michael.
Well, no, I'm glad to hear that others were kind of feeling the same way, and
I'll take some responsibility for my rush to try to stay on task with time. Try not to be such a taskmaster, but I do try to keep us moving, so good.
yeah,
Thanks,
I'm glad we're
everybody.
able to have a little more discussion about it.
Okay, all right.
I'd just like to make it very clear as well that all of these airport commission meetings are open meetings. And while people can become as involved as they want as participating citizens, subject to the chair's discretion, in terms of their input during a meeting. So hopefully it doesn't foreclose on the opportunity for someone
No.
to continue to contribute.
No, they're all posted meetings, posted down here at Town Hall as well as up at the operations building and online. People are welcome to come. And like I said, there have been very good things happening at the airport.
I'll keep that momentum going.
Good, okay. Thank you, everybody. All right, next we have Ken Moran with Steve Ellis. Come on down, Ken. If you would. We're going to be talking about results from the bids on the DPW facility.
Yes, we are. So, you want to say this good news, or should I?
Well, we have BW Construction Incorporated was a low bidder. They came in, we would have loved to see them come in. The bids were low, I think they were a little bit lower than the second bidder, and the next three were grouped, but they have the option. They're content with their number. And, the committee met, the OPM and Architectural Design, HKA, they've done their research. Nothing but good reports on this contractor. So it's kind of a home run for the town, I think, at this point.
Did I hear that I think, Steve, did you mention to me they did the work at the Molten Brine? Is that?
They
That's-
did.
Yes. they
That
did.
is in their resume,
Right.
and,
David mentioned working with him.
yeah,
Dave Jensen knew, remembered him in there, so.
Yeah, I'm gonna say, I did electrical inspections back when they did the Molten Brine. I don't remember any issues with any of the,
Another contractor, which has been involved with the town, called Steve, went out of his way to call and gave them a good recommendation, so.
yeah, it was an architect who was following the bid process. So it's worth noting, just for some specifics, that
Sure.
we had estimated a general contractor bid, which includes all of the sub-bids from all of the other trades that would function as subcontractors to the GC, with 4 alternates. Those alternates being having radiant floor heating in the,
Number 1 was the lift.
thank you,
And the
ridge
garage.
crane, radiant floor heating in
Radiant floor
the shop,
heating in the shop area.
and in the garage was number 3, and a salt shed, which
Was
is
number
an
4.
essential element of the operation. We had included those as alternates because we wanted to make certain, if the bids came in high, that we had things that we could drop and that they were ordered in terms of their relative priority, so that they could be removed from the price, as a way to make sure that we could still begin the construction of the building without them. We had expected bids to be up in the range of 8.5 million, inclusive of those 4 alternates, and the total bid with alternates from BW Construction was $7,663,893.
Do we have any indication in your reviews of the bids of why they were so much cheaper than the next 4 who are in the 7.5 million?
Not necessarily. Almost all, there were 10 total bidders at the general contractor level. Almost all of them chose the same array of the subcontractors who were
Filed
working.
sub-bidders bid earlier, and their numbers are used by the general.
Right, they grab the ones they want, okay? So let's just say there's a very low sub in there, but a contractor's worked with them before and has a negative relationship with them, they might not choose them, okay? So it's fundamentally, it's in their cost, in the site prep and in the foundation pouring and in putting the metal building up. And, there may be different businesses that have different profit margins associated with different elements of the work that they can do. Some are hungrier than others because of various situations, et cetera. We were prepared, and as Ken was just alluding to, there was a chance that BW Construction could look at its base bid and say, wow, it's $500,000 less than the cluster of the next 3 bidders. Maybe we want to withdraw that bid. Our architect reached out to them that same day that the bids came in and confirmed that they were in fact interested, that they were comfortable with their bid. And so we started that reference check process. That engages the Division of Capital Assets Management, which keeps project performance files and evaluation, as part of its work. And all of the references checked out outstanding as well.
HKA, they have like 24 or 48 hours to withdraw their bid, but that gives them a chance to go through it and make sure they didn't make a mistake, because we had one of the filed sub-bidders never put in a bond. A simple mistake, we lost 60,000 on that, they were lower, but that kind of stuff can happen, so
Sure.
these people are happy, they had time to research.
Good.
And-
We feel very comfortable.
so this gets us the building built. Now, what are the additional, just kind of as an overview, not exact numbers, but, because I know there are people out there that know we voted 11 point,
146 million.
and so now we're looking at 7.6. What are other costs that I know we won't know till the day that
Well,
we sign the certificate of occupancy.
The 11.2 was approved for the whole project. You have contingencies, your engineering, your OPM, all this stuff goes with it. The 7 point, where we came in at 7.6 is the construction of the building. Site work, infrastructure, the piping, the electrical, all that. So we're gonna get this built in there. The other costs, we have the contingencies in there in room. I mean, you know yourself, you started in construction. This is not a new tying in the old, which should be clear sailing. Metal building fairly good, so we don't expect a lot of extras coming along. I think, you know, we spent the time, the committee did due diligence to make sure things are where they want to be. We cut stuff, we added stuff, we're good,
So is it fair to say we're confident that
we will
we'll be
come on.
under budget,
Yeah.
but we won't know what that number exactly is until we're done?
No, we won't.
Is that a fair way to?
That is, and just so you understand, so this came in about $900,000 under what we were expecting. We have about $900,000 in contingency. And so, you know, this suggests that we could have as much as $1.8 million remaining at the end of the project in terms of how far we are under the budget. That said, there will be some changes. There are almost always situations encountered in the field that require some additional resource to resolve. We still have to spec the communications tower and system that will go with it. We don't expect that to be a huge expense, but there are, and there's, we have to bid out a contract for testing services to make sure that all the concrete is poured properly, all of the, you know, every element of the building has to be very rigorously tested, and we'll have some commissioning expense. So we're awaiting sort of a final reconciliation of the numbers as they sit today from the OPM, which I expect to have this week. But we are sitting in a very good spot relative to our anticipated project budget.
And the taxes that just went out last week for the end of the fiscal year or the start of fiscal year, does that include the first payment of this?
The
Has it
FY
hit the taxes
twenty,
yet?
the FY 20 budget includes some debt payments that will be associated with the first $2.5 million of bonding
So there,
for the
so there's a
project.
little bit of DPW in there.
There will be. The tax rate, of course, hasn't been set yet. That process happens a little bit later this year. So we'll be in a better position to analyze that in
Well,
October.
that'll be the 2020 tax.
Yeah, not
Yeah.
the one that
Not
just
the
went
one-
out,
the
not the one
ones
that just went
do not
out.
have
no.
Right.
DPW in it, yeah.
Those taxes that we all received
Yeah.
in the mail as our 4th of July present
Includes none of it.
those are the taxes due October 1st. And then the tax we'll get toward the fall, or when we set tax rate into the year, those would be the April
Usually
tax.
2 days before Christmas.
The
Those
the
would be the
larger
ones due
impact,
April 1st.
yeah, the
That's
larger
what-
impact will be associated with the remainder of the borrowing.
But the more we can do, and we've got a great committee, and we appreciate all Ken's effort, and Ariel, who's on the committee, is here tonight, as well as
Yeah.
Jensen and many others.
A lot of work.
A lot of work has gone in. I know I've called a couple of times to speak with Steve, and he's like, I'm headed into a DPW meeting. Can we talk tomorrow?
Yeah.
So I know a lot of work has gone in. I want to say that I appreciate the work. And
Yeah,
I know
absolutely.
that they'll be good stewards of our funds to try to make sure we have a quality building that will last us for many years. So with that,
Make a motion that we award the contract for construction of the DPW building to BW Construction of Spencer, Mass., inclusive of the base bid value of $7,081,831, as well as 4 bid alternates, including a bridge crane of $66,610, radiant heat on the shop floor $12,490, radiant heat for the vehicle and equipment storage area $64,465, a salt storage shed $438,497, for a total award of contract of $7,663,893.
Second.
motion's made and seconded. Any discussion?
The only thing I wanted to say, so it's, oops, I'm sorry.
Take Ken's first.
So it isn't misled, when the second alternate shop, radiant heat, there's radiant heat was in the base bid for the garage area and the wash rack. And this shop area is it's a stall that's combined with field people, the people that do the outside work, the grains and whatnot. It's a shared shop area signed, so that we were able to add radiant heat in there, and then the third one was out in the major storage
We're
area.
gonna have
Yeah,
the vehicle and
that's a good
equipment.
thing, yeah.
They're all good, yeah.
Yeah.
All right, Ariel, do you have a comment or question?
Yeah, 2 comments. One is just to add to what Ken just said. I think there's going to be a look back on the warming floor and the storage further on down the line and go, how did we ever think we could do without this? Our equipment is in so much better shape. But the previous comment that I wanted to offer was just, whoops, listen to that, but it's equipment that's air conditioning us. You know, when you say 4th of July present, I see that golden, I see that beautiful. I mean, when I think about founding this country, and the people here really did not know how they were going to provide for the common good, and here we are, a post-industrial small town, really, really, really doing incredibly well with the resources available, and that includes all of you people, really providing what's needed. And I just always appreciate that.
Thank you. Okay, so we have a motion on the floor with a second. Are there any other questions, discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
So vote unanimous.
Okay, so I will
Next.
send a notice of award to the company tomorrow, informing them.
Whatever is the procedure.
Yes, we'll have a number of contracts that we'll need to execute, and we'll hope to have those together for, it'll probably be the July 22nd meeting, which will allow us to break ground in August, I
They
would
have a
think,
bunch of
right?
stuff to sign, don't they? The email today from Greg, don't they have forms for you guys to sign tonight or no?
No, those are for the
Contract
company to
sign.
review
Okay,
before, yeah.
Then send them
All right,
back.
well, whenever they're ready, let us know.
Mhm.
We don't need any other authorizations to sign those, so do we?
Not
We'll do Another
presently.
meeting, so, in other words, if they're ready between, so we have another meeting next week. Then I
Yes.
think we skip.
That is
a week.
correct.
So if they're not ready next week, if they are ready, if it would help the process, just get notice out
We're hoping, yeah.
to
Yeah.
us. And I'm sure that the three of us are around town quite a bit, we can stop in if we need to. Okay, and next you have another authorization request.
Yeah, Kim, would you like to take this one, or do you want me to?
Well, it's, Steve probably could probably fill it in better, but it's basically about during the construction, any issues that come up, rather than have to call the committee in to make a change, or, you know what I mean, especially if it's basic stuff that we know doesn't work and you need to change it, there's a set limit on it. Steve can fill you in more.
Sure, so, I mean, there's always a need for change orders in the field. You dig a hole, it doesn't come out the way you expect, something needs to be done. That goes first to the architect, or I should say, it goes first to our sort of clerk of the works, if you will, project manager on the field, who's from Construction Monitoring Services. It gets referred to the architect. They think through what the appropriate solution would be, considering code and everything else. They would engage the committee to talk about the possibility for a change order in the field. There's a change order process. It's very well defined, it's very well documented, so any changes are completely kosher, approved by the architect and approved by the committee. There may be some change that is massive in its significance, okay? And these are unforeseeable changes that we're talking about. In that case, we would probably convene an emergency meeting of the select board, or need to, in order to get authorization. We're asking you tonight to delegate authority to the Public Works Facility Building Committee to approve, and then further delegate approval to specific members of that committee to approve change orders relative to the construction of the facility up to a value of $50,000 per change order. The people who, at our last building committee meeting, were identified as co-signers of that were Ken Moran, who is the chair, and David Jensen, the co-chair, and of course our former building inspector, based on their knowledge, their mutual availability to make the right decision in the field for us. They would always consult with Tom Bergeron as the DPW superintendent, and they would always consult with me as well.
You know, one of the examples they use, just to further, is,
Do you want a second before we have further
I'll
discussion?
during the excavation, you know, if you hit some unforeseen thing, because the main thing is we don't want to hold up the construction. If you have to wait to post a meeting and that,
Right.
that's primarily what this is about, is keeping things going, so.
And during the construction process, would it be possible to have some sort of, whatever interval might be appropriate, to have you guys come and just do a 10-minute or 5-minute update to the board?
Yeah.
Well,
Oh, yeah.
I'm just thinking, so then it gets out to the public.
We're gonna get reports from our OPM on board, and we will keep it up to date. In fact, we talked about putting it on the town site. I don't know if that's set up. or
Yeah,
not
it's all
yet.
up
I
there.
think we should keep.
Yeah,
sure.
keep the public
People
posted.
can look at it, but it's also
Yeah.
even just to have a couple of minute
the meeting,
presentation of
sure.
anything that's,
Yep.
that maybe reach certain milestones. I know in every construction project, there's you know,
Let
it's
'em know
good for
things
people
are
to know where we're at, how we're doing.
looking good or
both
not.
budgetarily and just how the construction process is
Sure.
going.
We'll receive a full monthly briefing each month.
Mhm.
We'll make certain that's available to the board, and anytime you would like us, when you feel it is sort of significant enough, we can make certain that it's added to the agenda.
That's fine, or I'd leave it up to you two guys to
Sure.
help figure out when that is. I don't think we need to, I don't wanna micromanage the project.
No,
I'm
well,
really thinking
nice to know
more
where
of
it's
just
going.
trying to get
Yeah.
some public visibility so people know what's going on Turner Falls Road.
Absolutely, and we'll post these motions, and
Okay.
we'll post the general bid results
Good.
on the DPW facility page. We have one specially set up for the committee, Public Works Facility Building Committee, and it has a link to the design and construction activity, where you can
Good.
see various documents, okay?
Great, thank you. Oh, we didn't vote on the last one.
Okay.
We have a motion on the floor to approve the change orders up to $50,000 as discussed. Any other comments or questions? All those in favor?
Aye.
So voted unanimous. Okay.
Question.
Yes, Jeff?
Do you have a second I could ask a mildly complicated question? If your general contractor is choosing various bidders, and it affects their bottom line, right? My understanding is that if you don't take the lowest bidder, you have to jump through some hoops in terms of explaining why. Does that work when the general, is that what
General
happens?
contractors don't need to provide that explanation.
They can take whoever they want.
And when they choose a more expensive bidder, they're making potentially a choice that makes their own bid less competitive from a dollar standpoint. But it ensures that you don't get relationships that have egregious problems between
Yeah.
GCs and subs. So and also if they do have real quality concerns, it allows them to pass that particular firm by.
Do they outline in their bid who they chose as subs, or just, I know in the private
Yes.
sector, sometimes people will take a contractor and they might decide to make a little different margin on that. That's,
No, all of their subs have to be from the list and
and
made
at the
evident
price
to
they're
us.
quote, yeah,
We
okay.
haven't
Yeah.
seen that yet, have we?
It's available on
Oh, it is?
biddocsonline.com.
Okay.
If someone wanted to check out the post, if they were to go to www.biddocsonline.com and search on Montague, our DPW project would come up, and you can get a variety of different information.
Good. Okay, thank you. Thanks for coming.
All right, thank you.
Take care of your comments. Next, we have a request for
I'll get on this tomorrow.
for
Thank you.
a town credit card for, I use David's last name?
Wassick.
Wassick?
Daniel.
Daniel, I'm there, Daniel Wassick. Again, for the amount of $5,000, this is for just miscellaneous expenses or costs.
It is. It allows departments to order online, which sometimes will offer significant savings for products, et cetera, or for conference registration and things of that nature. 5,000 is our standard max credit limit, and it's been as Eileen has reported previously, it's been a well-administered and well-received program from the standpoint of management.
All right, I'll make that motion.
I'll second that motion.
Motion's made and seconded to allow David Wassick, the town credit card. All those in favor? Aye.
And I'm going to abstain, just to prevent any possible appearance of the Board of Health taking a positive vote on that,
Okay.
given the two Board of Health
All right,
members here.
So 2 in favor and 1 abstention, as stated. Okay, town administrator business.
Okay. There will be just a second as I'm catching up with my notes from the last item. Okay, so, 2 items. One, the General Pierce Bridge update has been fairly well publicized at this point in time. And, we included that on the town's Facebook page and put it on our website with a link to the Facebook page. Fundamentally, we're now anticipating that we'll have single lane of travel with alternating traffic, with signals. Those are all in place now. Today and tomorrow, I haven't had a chance to go down to the bridge, but my understanding is the bridge will be closed and that they will be installing barriers that will ensure that all traffic conforms to center lane travel. because the places where they've had issues with the deck coming up and exposing rebar have primarily been on the sides, closer to the sidewalks. This measure will ensure the bridge is able to retain the legal load levels of 20, 25, and 36 tons for 2, 3, and 5 vehicle axle vehicles respectively. Mass DOT is continuing to design an upcoming project which will allow the bridge to be restored to full use. I'll just note that allowing the bridge to be restored to full use, suggested repairing as opposed to replacing with a different bridge in a different place. The project is included in Mass DOT's recently approved 20 through 24 capital investment plan and is expected presently to be advertised for construction bids in 2020. I met today with our state representative, Natalie Blay, and we discussed the fact that anything that can be done to expedite the schedule would be appreciated, and to the extent that she sees an opportunity to advocate for such, we have her assurance that she'll do so.
Well, and as far as we know, the sidewalk is still open to pedestrian traffic?
That is my understanding, yes.
I know they just recently did some work on the sidewalk where there was some buckling and some kind of just concrete that had failed just from age.
Yeah.
So that's good. Good. Well, unfortunate that we have to have single lane, but it's good to see that Mass Highway and DOT is working.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I just want to let the public know that we do our best to communicate once we actually have firm information. Oftentimes, we might be speculating based on we get a call for police duty in a given area. DOT likes to have all of its details as well in hand as possible so that they don't release information and then need to re-release on a serial basis. I get that. But just be assured that the town does what we can to get correct information up as quickly as we can once received.
And the last time that any major work was done on that bridge was back in the 1980s.
It's been a long time since then. So it's due for maybe rehab, and it's good to see that. Okay,
Move in
next.
the right direction.
Next, the front hall.
Yes, so as was discussed at town meeting and through the capital improvements committee process and the finance committee process, we have a front awning, and no one really knows exactly what to call it, but it's on the front of our town hall. It is historic in nature. It was on a different building, and I apologize for not knowing the name of that historic building here in Montague. Perhaps Jeff knows off the top of his head. But Ed Gregory gave me a bit of history previously about it. It's a bit of a treasure of an item, and it's in disrepair. Since I've been here, we've seen pieces of glass start to slide out of the brasswork, which is beginning to curl. There's a lower skirt on that awning, if you will. It's the most decorative component of it. And we have a contract now with Stephen Smithers, who is a silversmith who does historic preservation improvements of this nature. He is based in Ashfield on 1057 Holly Road in Ashfield. And so we have a contract that I'm asking you to execute with him tonight in the sum of $8,975.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second that.
Motion's made and seconded.
What's the expected timeframe for completion?
I know he is away next week. We're expecting him to start probably the third week of July. He's going to schedule that with DPW superintendent and building maintenance because in order to save money on this, our guys are going to help him remove that skirt. We're actually going to transport it to Ashfield, and because he didn't have a suitable vehicle for something this big, and we think it'll be back up and in place by the middle of August. It shouldn't be a long project. He's going to sub some work to a historic glass specialist named Mark Leibowitz, who's also from the Hill Towns, I believe.
Good. One thought I had is with the skirting down, there's a whole series of lamp holders, and is it possible to get that looked at and make sure that that is in good repair,
I have asked Tom to consider that. He was amenable to trying to do that, and so that'll be part of our intention is to make
get an
improvements to
electrician
that.
to look that over?
Yes, there's spots for like 30 bulbs, and it certainly doesn't need 30 bulbs.
Well, they do that so there's even light, but there are many options, and I don't know what people would want to do, but it might be worth having a, electrician or somebody look at
Yes.
that. We could even consider like LED, newer technology to get even light or something under there, or continue with the lamps and just more but smaller.
Something that's energy efficient.
Right, I think that somebody
LEDs
probably,
also.
DPW has replaced most of the lamps in there with a bulb with LED. But I think, I'm just concerned, the electrician in me, the wiring underneath there is probably pretty old.
Do you think we
So
need,
we ought to look at that.
you think we need to have our energy committee take a look at that?
We're not the technical
No.
experts that Rich Kukowitz
Okay.
is.
So we have a motion on the floor to approve the contract for the Stephen Smithers of Ashland. Any other discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, so voted. Anything for topics not anticipated, Steve?
I don't have anything.
And our next meeting is next Monday, July 8th, Town Hall at 7 PM. I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Meeting is adjourned at 7:51.
Fireworks are illegal, behave responsibly.